Hey bassists, today we're going to be talking about vibrato. Basically, vibrato is when a pitch fluctuates, when it doesn't stay in one exact place, but actually moves back and forth, going a little bit higher and a little bit lower. I'm going to go ahead and play a little vibrato so that you can hear what it sounds like. I'll play my high D, and I'm going to first play it without vibrato, just straight, and then I'll add vibrato and see if you can hear the difference. Here's without. And now with. So you can hear, instead of being one straight pitch, doo, the pitch is now going up and down, doo, kind of back and forth to give the note a little more of an interesting flavor, a little more of a natural flavor, because our voices don't always stay in one secure pitch like our instruments can. Usually, if we're a beginner player, we only reserve vibrato for longer notes, things like whole notes and half notes. This is because at a fast speed, it's very difficult to vibrato shorter notes, and it can cause injury if you're rushing from note to note and trying to vibrato at the same time. Now, even once we've mastered the technique of vibrato, as bass players, we usually don't incorporate it into our performance of a piece until after we've gotten down all the notes and all the rhythms. What do I mean by that? When we get a piece of music, we should first analyze the big picture, things like time signature, key signature, if there's any big changes in either of those two. And then we should go and look at the rhythms. Once we have all the rhythms down, we should identify all the pitches. And then we need to practice playing it correctly. That means making sure every single note is perfectly in tune without vibrating, without any vibrato. Once we've gotten it to that point, then we can add the vibrato to give it a little more flavor on those long notes. The technique varies from instrument to instrument. So the way a violinist uses vibrato is very different from the way a bass player is going to have to use vibrato. One thing to keep in mind is that vibrato is a left-hand technique only. That means your bow hand will not be doing any vibrating. We'll use the high D under our first finger as our first example of how to vibrato. So here we are. I'm going to play my high D. Now with bass technique, we usually keep our elbow a little bit elevated and we keep our wrist straight. We never want to put the elbow against the bass like that and bend our wrist. This will already cause injury. That's basic bass technique no matter whether you're playing vibrato or not. Now the way we add vibrato isn't actually in the wrist or twisting the wrist. It's in a twist of the entire forearm. So I like to do what's called the princess wave. Go ahead, take your hand out with me. And we're going to twist our whole arm from the forearm. Notice my entire forearm is moving in order to twist my hand. It's not just a wrist motion, it's the entire arm. Once again, with bass, since it's such a big instrument, we can't rely on our fingers on our wrist for all of these motions. We have to use our bigger muscles to avoid injury. So once you've gotten the princess wave down, I want you to feel like there's a little bounce to it. If you can loosen your wrist and just twist it and feel every time you hit that way, it bounces back a little bit, then you're starting to get it down. It's almost like screwing in a light bulb, but instead of the motion coming from your fingers, it's coming from that forearm. Once we've gotten that down, we can apply it to our instrument. So hold down the D with your first finger, make sure your wrist isn't bent, and start without the bow to undulate. I'm holding down the string. My fingers are in their basic bass technique, but look at how my whole forearm is moving up and down to actually twist my hand. Once I've gotten that down at this slow speed, I can go ahead and add the bow. I'll set the bow on the string. I'll start my vibrato before bowing, and then I'll play. Before you go fast, learn to go slow. Instead of speeding this up, we're going to slow it down. So I'm going to play a little bit slower. See how slowly my hand is moving. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Let's try. 1. If you can do the technique that slowly without any pain, then you're ready to go faster. Once you've gotten it down at that slow speed with your first finger, try your second finger. Find that same note, and when I use my second finger, I'll usually hold my first finger down as well. They'll work as a team to vibrato the note. Let's try it. 1 and 2 and nice and slow and. Once you've gotten it with your second finger, try with your third and fourth. Now with your third and fourth, we don't always hold down the other fingers. It's a little hard to twist with all the fingers down. So if you just go to your third and fourth, you'll be a little more free to vibrato that way. However, try to avoid using just your third or just your pinky. Neither of these fingers is generally strong enough to hold down a bass string. It might work for cello, violin, or viola, but bass is a different beast. 1 and 2 and nice and slow and. Here's a practice tip. Use a metronome. If you use a metronome, you can change your vibrato to different rhythms on the same click. For example, we can do it as eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Or triplets. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. And of course, 16th notes. 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4E and a. Let's try that out together. Just use your first finger for now. On the same note, D. 1 and 2 and eighth notes. 1. Now let's try as triplets. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. Finally, 16ths. 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4E and a. In the world of sports, there's a saying, no pain, no gain. But in the world of music, that is absolutely not true. If you're feeling pain at any point while vibratoing, you need to stop. Music requires us to use very small and very delicate muscles in our hands to do complicated things. If you injure one of these muscles or tendons or ligaments, it could put you out of commission and out of playing music for over a year. I personally know friends who have gone through that. So if you ever feel pain on the instep of your wrist or on either side, on the tendons of your hand, you need to stop vibratoing and analyze what you might be doing wrong. Do not power through. Do not try to tough it out. Immediately stop, diagnose the situation, and give your hand time to rest and heal. All right, bassists, I hope this video was a helpful introduction into the vibrato technique. Practice slowly, practice safely, and I'll see you in the next video.